I don't say this too often. I'm pretty damn jealous. Like I'm envious. Like this is awesome. Just being able to wake up, you're on your boat, surrounded by water. You got your dog. I mean, this is a nice setup you got here.
It's all right. You know, we were talking before we started talking here, and it was a little bit of a journey to get here. You know, I mean, obviously our history in our lives, right? But it was kind of weird for me to give up the concept of what I was supposed to have at my age, like to live in a boat.
Yep.
I didn't realize how much more free this would be. I felt this was like a step down. It's actually been an elevation.
Got it.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the water is one of the strongest energy sources you can have. So there's something even just majestic about sleeping in the bow of a boat.
Sure, I guess just that kind of rhythm and then that soothing motion.
Yeah, and you hear it, and water has energy, right? Like, you know, like you want to get grounded, you go to the beach, put your on the lawn, take your shoes off. You know, you have that same effect when you're around that water. Water is one of the strongest energy points. So, yeah, it was kind of, it was necessary that I moved to the boat, and then it was kind of a decision, and then I was kind of encouraged to do it by a friend, and it's even weird for me to still say it, man. It's like the best decision I've made probably in a year and a half.
Okay.
Right? Because I wasn't happy in apartments. Right? The house that I had was great in the hills.
Right.
But I couldn't find a community in where we come from, Canada, or at least Toronto, or at least the amount of friends that we've developed over the years when you've lived in one place your whole life. I had a sense of community, right? Even if I was changing my lifestyle and I was, you know, embarking on new territory with new careers and new mindsets and energy shifts, I still had like a core. Like I could go to the ACC and run into 30 people that I knew, and I could still have conversations. You know, I could go to one of your establishments, you know, and I'd run into 20 people that I know, and it was like always that sense of community. When you move to another country at 40, right, and you don't have a foundation there, I couldn't find a sense of community, and that's been the toughest part about moving to LA. As like the street that I lived on, beautiful homes. I looked at it; it looked like a residential street, except on the top of a mountain, Santa Monica Mountains. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll know my neighbors. There'll be barbecues. There'll be hanging out. You know, I didn't meet a person in my first year here.
Okay.
Not
It's
a
all
person.
very private, secluded.
Yeah, and that was really difficult for me, especially because I'm, you know, a talker and a social guy. It was the most challenging. Then I said when I opened my store in Santa Monica, I was like, well, I'll live above the store. You know what that's about, right? And it was convenient. It was smart. I was going to be in my shop from 5 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. But again, couldn't meet anybody even in the condo. And even in Santa Monica, like I met clients and I knew my staff, my team members, but like they work for you. And as much as I treat them as family, you know, you don't go break bread every single Tuesday night and go listen to live music with everybody that works with you, right? Because you have to have some perspective of the boss at some point. You can't be everybody's friend, right? It clouds your judgment on even discipline in the workplace. So that was challenging. And it was when I closed Whole Life Balance in Santa Monica, I closed the store and I'd lost a lot of money and I was feeling like crap. And I was going to go back to the house in Hollywood, in the Hollywood Hills. I'm like, but I wasn't happy there. It should make you happy.
Yep.
It's the dream.
Sure.
It's a jetliner views, you know, the Hollywood sign. I mean, I'm like, it was a conflict.
Right.
I'm like, why am I not happy with what everybody else would dream? I'm like, it's again a possession. Who am I doing it for? Like, I don't need 5 bedrooms. You know, we touched on this. I'm like, why am I, you know, does that make me happy?
Yeah.
And also establishing from my recovery and addiction and all the work that I've done in life coaching and personal life coaching, and then my clients themselves, I'm telling everybody, don't be defined by possessions, live in your truth, yet I'm still living in that kind of marbleized version of it.
Right.
So it was a friend of mine in Toronto when I said, you know, she said to me, where are you happiest? I go, well, you know I'm happiest on my boat. And she was literally like, well, pardon my language, why the fuck don't you move your boat? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be 42 this year. I mean, I can't live on my boat. That's my recreational toy,
Right.
you know? And she's like, who the fuck are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
And it was one of the most honest lines that I've heard from an ex-girlfriend, actually, but a friend still.
Sure.
And you want to say, oh, go to hell, you know, get angry. I'm like, oh, man, you're right. Mm-hmm. You're so right.
Yeah.
So
So what did you have to let go of to be okay living here on your boat?
Biggest thing was my wardrobe.
Your wardrobe.
That was my hardest thing.
Okay, so your possessions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with cooking. I grill. I've got all that. Nutritionist, so I generally eat okay. I mean, I'm human, right? I have fun days and I get on serious kicks. But it was the wardrobe, because I haven't really changed in size since probably 2000. I've gotten a little bigger sometimes and a little bit chubbier sometimes, but generally the mold is the same. And in the industry we were in, I mean, I know how well you dress, right? You were on Gut Style, I believe, is the best dressed in Toronto a couple times. But I remember you were on for once for sure. Twice? Sorry, okay. I knew one for sure, but it's good. So twice, and I don't know. For me, it was like, okay, what do I really need? And even I've struggled with this with my mom, for instance, right? Who I love. We're one of my best friends. Like it sounds weird, but I talk to my mother almost every day. Right? I'm single. I'm not married. She unfortunately has to deal with what usually I think your partner would. With me going, oh man, what a tough day. Right? So I'm on board. Both of my parents are like that, and we're a very close family. But I still get it with her because she's used to seeing me in like a nice button up or like a blazer, and you don't have that on a boat. It's not. I mean, it's either chilly in the morning, so like I had a sweater on when we met today, or it's California, so it turns out to be nice. I don't have blazers and jackets. I have a couple nice outfits for going out. But my whole wardrobe was like, Robert Graham this, like all the loud shirts, and that's great. I love them. I'm not knocking, people taking care of their appearance at all. But for me, I'm on a boat.
Right.
So I'm going to need like flip-flops, one pair of dress shoes, a brown pair and a black pair. I don't need all my loafers and this and that. Mind you, I do have a pretty decent shoe collection still because they don't take up a lot of space. But it would just like grab shirts like this. I got into like those retro T-shirts. So my mother even was looking at me like, you're dressing a little bit like, like a bum. And I'm like, Mom, I'm on a boat. I can't have, I'm not going to, like, even leaving it in a stuffed closet, you don't have a place to iron things. So like a lot of the button up, I've been wearing a lot of the flannels and things like that. So it's just kind of, that was the hardest. That was the most difficult, was the actual getting rid of the wardrobe. I gave everything to Goodwill.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could relate to this. Like, even when you did have your big wardrobe, I often joke and say, I've got a Ferrari in my closet that I can't drive. Because over the years, I've accumulated so much expensive designer clothing. It's too expensive to give away. Yeah. It's too dated to wear. So it just sits there taking up room in my closet.
It does.
And I find that I wear the same 5 black jeans, the same 8 or 10 shirts, the same 3 or 4 shoes, and the rest is just there like it's going to be worn someday, and it's not. Yeah. And I almost wish I had a reason to just get rid of it all so I don't have to look at it anymore and be reminded of the fact that I have a depreciating asset in my closet. And so I mean, letting go of that, letting go of the possessions. What about your identity? And you and I can relate to this coming from the same background where, people are buying into who you are and what you're wearing and all that stuff. What about the shift in your identity? What had to happen there for you to just be not just okay with this, but actually really love and enjoy it?
A migration of a ton of stuff. I mean, truth of the matter is, and my history a little bit, you know it well, and for anybody that's watching, we were in the same industry. We were in the hospitality industry in Toronto.
So, actually, well, what I want to do then, because since you touched on that, obviously, we've known each other for probably close to 20 years, and we were in the same industry together. You had therapy for many years. I was at Fluid, and we worked in hospitality for many years. And then we definitely went our own ways. And for about probably...
You launched King Street and then put me out of business.
Well, I don't know if that's fair, but for about probably 12 years, we didn't see each other or speak to one another. So I would like to know, kind of from when you closed therapy to really, I think, when I started seeing you here in California, I'd like you to share a bit about how it went from Therapy Lounge to living here in Marina del Rey on your boat. Give me the Coles Notes recap, highlight reel of that. Yeah.
You know what our industry's like. I've had a tremendous amount of respect for you and the way you've managed your businesses.
Thank you.
I didn't have that ability. I was, I guess, cursed in a sense that when I opened my clubs, it was more for vanity.
Okay.
I didn't know then what I know now.
And just for the record, most people, when they open a club, it is for vanity.
Yeah, okay. So, but I think I should have grown out of that by about 26, 27 when I had, machine head and money and therapy and had opportunities, wonderful opportunities in front of me. And I didn't have debt and I was in a good position. But I didn't realize how low my self-esteem, my self-worth was. I don't know where that, we have in therapy kind of figured out where that originally stemmed from, it's a longer story. It's very interesting. It's bizarre and amazing how these therapists kind of pull this out of you from inner child trauma and stuff like that. I don't have a history of abuse or anything like that. It stemmed from whenever I switched. I'll tell you. So we're here, right? I'm 100% transparent in my life, especially now, because I think it's important to be.
Absolutely.
You know, it's honesty starts here. Right? I wear this on my, you know, the truth bracelet from one of those charity campaigns. You know, what's your word?
Right.
Right. And it's mine's truth, and because I didn't live in it for so long, that's the most important thing to me now. So, excuse me. What happened was when I was really young, I moved to a lot of different schools. Right. Either for disciplinary problems or my parents moved. And you have to belong to a tribe, or you have to feel like you belong. As human beings, we want to collectively feel like we fit in somewhere, right? And I guess I'm a little bit smaller than the average man. I was 5'5". I'm 5'5" now, so I was probably 5'3" or 5'2" in 7th or 8th grade. And I wanted to fit in, and there was a group of kids that had gone to school together since kindergarten. And I was going in 7th grade. Now 9th grade in Canada, for any Americans that don't know, we go right from 9th to 10th, or from 8th to 9th. There's no middle school. And I wanted to fit in, so I kind of BS'd a little bit about my skills in hockey.
Okay.
So the slightest little minute detail that I don't think and these are still friends of mine to this day. I still know them, and they're true friends, and they're authentic friends. But because I predicated our relationship on a little bit of a stretch of who I was, that I never believed all the way through high school and even into college and even into my 20s that I was ever really part of the group. Because subconsciously with me, and this is what we figured out in therapy, and I'll tell you how I got into therapy, was that I had kind of built this idea that I wasn't of value unless there wasn't a story attached to me.
Okay.
So anybody that liked me, it must have been for something I did or said, not for who I was.
Okay.
Which is a terrible, sad way to live, because you're constant beating yourself up for self-worth, and your self-esteem is absolutely, you know, in the negative. So when I opened the nightclubs, I had that issue already that I didn't know I had.
Right.
Obviously, I masked some of my pain with alcohol and drugs. So I did I did a lot of cocaine, and I wasn't a kind of user. I was doing an 8-ball a day.
Wow.
You know, and I did that for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Right. Well, 15 years at least. From 20 to 37 is when I went into rehab. I sold my club, my properties at 34. The one smart thing I did is my father, whenever I told him I was going to open a nightclub, I had some savings, and he'd always told me he'd back my play if I had a business plan and a model. He's a very supportive family, and they lent me the money to do the renovations, but the only way that I'd be able to do it is if I owned the buildings.
Amazing, yeah.
That was their thing, because my dad said, you know, I don't know if you'll be good at this, and if you suck, either I'll lease it or I'll sell it.
Right.
At least I'll recoup some of my loft. So my father was protecting his interest, but also teaching me an important lesson. Hired a great team, opened therapy, sold Therapy Lounge, the property, and that's where we come to what I call my year of anxiety and depression. My relationships were not good; they were not healthy. My relationship with myself was horrible, and I didn't even have the club. So for 10 years, my identity was the bars, you know, the clubs. That was me, you know. Like I could always get us in somewhere because I could have somebody come into my place. There was always, you know, the network, right? And once you're not an owner anymore, and maybe you don't have the great relationships, from 34 to 37 were just really terrible years. A lot of money, too much for anybody at that time, because the properties were worth a decent amount. And I traveled, and I had bad relationships, like I said, with myself. But I just was never happy, and I was drinking more, and I was using more, and I was hanging around with more of a rogue group of people, you know, not healthy people. And it wasn't even like, not that there's healthy drug addicts, but like people that were, our conversation started at midnight and ended at 6 in the morning.
Got it.
Every night of the week, you know. And I was really, really upset, and I had a bad breakup with a girlfriend that I dated for on and off for about 3.5, 4 years. And I was head over heels in love with this woman. We had a bad relationship. There's no blame. I don't have any blame. It was a two-way street. I was definitely not there the way I should have been. I wasn't able to be. I didn't know how to be. And she had her own issues and wasn't there for me. So, but I was heartbroken when she finally left me for the last time, or we broke up, or I was heartbroken. So I did what any drug addict and self-abusive person would do, is I decided I'd move to my old boat in Ontario Place, and I would just party that summer away, and to hell with it. And I got a gift a huge gift from meeting this girl, Christina. We were just friends, but she wanted to go to Greece, and I thought I wanted to be more than friends with her. So what does a self-involved douchebag do? It's the truth. I mean, it really is. It's sad, but I'm sometimes I'm embarrassed, but I'm proud that I can admit it, even though it's not something people want to admit. You know, I was self-involved and figured that my money would acquire her, right? So you want to go to Greece? Let's go to Greece. First class tickets. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. We'll stay on this island, and we'll go here, and we'll go to meet. You know, all that. And she was not impressed by that, but she made it very clear to me. She said, Shane, I would love to go away. She goes, and I'll be like your tour guide because that's where I'm from. She goes, but we're not together. And I'm thinking 3 weeks in Greece, tropical, you know, beautiful destinations, fine dinners.
Irresistible charm.
Come on, 3 weeks, something's going to happen, and we drink and we party and, you know, all that stuff. It's just inevitable, and that's sad because I thought I could buy somebody, basically, which is pathetic. But in Greece is where my whole life changed.
Okay.
Right? I rented an exotic car while I was there. We went to visit her family that lived there before we went on our extravagant trip. And they were in a remote town, southern tip of Greece. It took us 3 hours from Athens to drive there. And like, you had no business pulling up in a Gullwing Mercedes. Like, this is a town that has all scooters.
Okay.
Like, there's some donkeys still. It's a small little town.
Right.
So I'm getting out, like, and I'll use a reference to date it, like Conor McGregor would today, but without the press and without the fighting expertise. Like, that's how I was dressed, and, you know, like the Gucci loafers and, like, ridiculous. So self-involved and such a loser. But she asked me to do one thing, and she said, Shane, you know, when you're here, we stayed in separate places. She stayed with her family. I stayed in hotels. So there was no impropriety on her part, and she didn't want to appear that way. But she said, just don't drink and drive, please, in this town. Like, of course, no problem. One night I went to bed around midnight because I was drinking, and I said, you know, I'm not going to go to the discotheque tonight. You guys have fun, whatever. And I went to bed at around midnight. I woke up at around 3 o'clock-ish, and I felt fine. So I walked down to the front lobby of this, like, castle thing that I was standing in. I said, can I grab a cab to go to the disco? I'm going to go meet family and friends. And he's like, there's no cabs. I'm like, oh, let's grab me my car then. All right. So she said, okay, fine. I grabbed the car, drove to the disco. I walk into the disco and, like, I have to put on a show again. I start buying bottles, and I said, these guys were doing just fine without me. They were having a nice time at the bar standing there. I put a table together, booth, and showed off, you know, again, insecure, and got wasted, and left right before sunrise and got back in the car. And she had asked me that night again. She goes, you didn't drive here, right? I'm like, no, didn't drive here. I snuck out, and I wrecked the car in her village.
Wow.
And I fractured my orbital, broke my nose, fractured 3 ribs. I went into the A-post and then the steering wheel, airbag deployed, but the car was still drivable. And if you can believe it, with that damage. So yeah, so I managed to get it back into the hotel parking spot. She came into the room in the morning, panicked, like really worried I was a mangled mess, and kicked in the door basically and said, what the fuck happened? And I don't know where this came from. It's comical. I jumped and said, I got carjacked by Albanians. I shit you not, I actually said that in a drunken stupor, mangled face. And she looked at me and she goes, Shane, we saw the car. We saw you wreck the car. She goes, like, I asked you one thing, and now you've lied to me. I think you're great, and I'm grateful for you in my life, but I didn't sign up for this. Wow. So I'm not going to go on the rest of the trip with you.
Yeah.
I wish you good luck. And it was the first time in my life that alcohol had taken something away from me that I wanted. Every other time with nightclubs, it gave me what I wanted.
Right.
I got drugs, I got popularity. So for the next 2 weeks I sat in Greece, in Mykonos. I didn't speak the language. I was beat up, and I had to evaluate, you know, what was going to go on with me. So a couple other things happened. I'll kind of fast track. I decided in Greece basically that I needed help. Okay. That this wasn't going to end well, and I didn't know how to do it. So I got back to Toronto, and I figured if I just stay in for a month, okay, you know, it's like what rehab is, right? You just stay in for a month. So I stayed in for a month, and then the first night I went out to the Leaf game or something. I was 8 in the morning at an after hours on Spadina. Wow. You know, I mean, it didn't matter. It just went 0 to 100 right away. So I didn't have the boundaries, didn't have the skill set, didn't have the understanding of who I was, who I wanted to be. Fast forward to my older brother finding out that I wanted to go to rehab, and he organized a place for me to go to in LA. And I came out to Passages in Malibu, which is a holistic treatment center. And that's where the second jump of my life went into second gear. So the first was recognizing I had a problem. Second was going to treatment and going to a holistic treatment center. there I started learning a lot of the biases that were not true, a lot of the stereotypes were not true. I thought if you're holistic or a wellness person that you had to wear Birkenstocks and hug trees all the time, and I had to have a Prius. I couldn't drive a big truck.
Right.
You know, like I thought there was like rules to be in that club, which is such bullshit. But I started learning who my truth was, and that's where we understood or learned where maybe the self-esteem issue came from some deep therapy there, and I wanted to change, and I got a second chance, and life has been pretty damn good thus far. You know, even with me trying to corrupt it, an unwittingly saboteur to my own life, I still came out alive. I should be dead 3 or 4 times over from different car wrecks from all my 20s. Like I was, you know, I was a mess.
Right.
So I got a second chance, and I went back to school, became a certified nutritional practitioner, got a coactive life coaching degree, did that in 18 months, and how I ended up in this location was I wanted to come out here and serve.
Okay.
LA's got the largest community of addiction recovery. So my first instinct whenever I got out of treatment, went back to school, was I wanted to dynamically improve people's nutrition as they were in recovery for addiction. Because nobody was teaching me what I was learning in school, and the amount of damage that we've done through addiction. The first thing to be screwed up in your body is actually your GI tract whenever when you abuse drugs or alcohol. And to rebuild that takes time. So nobody was telling me what I had to do, and I wanted to be an advocate and a source and be of service. I didn't really need the money. Life was okay still. I have to earn. I didn't make that kind of money. I don't have to work. It's not like that. I'm working my ass off now. But I didn't need it right then. I had enough that I could put away, come out here for a year and work. And I started working in treatment centers and offering nutritional advice and life coaching and speaking. And that migrated to a client base that required a store. I truthfully overshot my mark, and I opened up a larger space than required with limited medical experience.
Okay.
It took me about 1.5 years to get it dialed in, and it was never going to be what I wanted it to be in Santa Monica. We were surviving, but it just wasn't fulfilling. And again, this truth thing that I talk about, I was like, look, you can do better work in other ways. So I, with a heavy heart, closed Whole Life Balance in Santa Monica.
Okay.
We did open in Toronto, and I've got great partners there, and they're crushing it. And it's a different environment, it's a different energy. I'm really proud of them. Still learning, you know. We all do we ever stop? And then getting to the boat was when I closed the store, and that's the story I was saying earlier, where I didn't know where I was going to live then because I hadn't found a sense of community here.
Right.
Right, and I didn't know what to do. And it was, you know, an ex-girlfriend of mine that was like, you know, who the fuck are you trying to impress? And this, hands down, is probably the best decision I made in 1.5 years. Was living on the boat, and then of course the launch of Vitamin Patch Club, which was what is being done all in this space, which is pretty insane.
Sure. Yeah.
To think about. Like, I live, eat, and sleep here, you know, and you've been downstairs. It's not huge, but you know, you wake up and I walk my dog right there, and we're on a dock and we're on water, and then I come back and usually there's a table here, so work away at the laptop for a couple hours and take Bronx for a walk. It doesn't feel like work when you're sitting on a boat. Sure. Right? Not many people go to their office usually isn't a boat. Right, so you already don't have that constraint in your mind. Yeah. Right, and a lot of stuff has happened in this past year too, that have propelled Vitamin Patch to Vitamin Patch Club to get a lot of recognition from press and outlets, because we were talking earlier, and we're building the company based on philanthropreneurship. Right? Yeah, which is an amazing term. I love that. And I can't take credit for taking the phrase. A friend of mine in Montreal. He's the one that mentioned it to me one day. He's like, what you're doing is philanthropreneurship. I'm like, mind if I borrow that? Yeah. All right, so I've been promoting, and he actually has a mastermind, an academy in Montreal that teaches this concept too. I'd love to know more about that. Yeah, I'll tell you, okay. I'll shout out for Mark Angelo Coppolo. Okay. And it's Superheroes Academy Mastermind. Oh, sweet, yeah. Great guy, solid guy, works with a ton of different websites for social media and stuff like that, but the altruistic concept is, you know, we touched on it in connecting for this talk, is I think it's an obligation at this point in life. So we have our company, and that's great, and we've got an amazing product, and it's transdermal patches, and I believe 100% in the business, and that's awesome. To have a brand and a product, that's amazing, and to have the awareness that we're getting is amazing, but that still, to me, isn't enough. I'm like, so what can I do? I want to be of service, and I want to do well. To be of service in the capacity that I want, I have to have a profitable company, but I don't want to be driving my business based on just my bottom line revenue all the time. I have a COO that does that. He's telling me where I'm spending too much. Take care of that stuff. I want to be in a position where I'm actually a thought leader and occurring change in the world. And to do that, I know how I am and what turns me on, and that's giving people access or beneficial, whether it be through lecturing or whether through financial aid or just listening or being there. Being present is a huge thing. So we've incorporated in the business 3 different models. We have a global, national, regional charity. Every month is nominated. 2 of them are nominated by us. The 3rd one is nominated by Vitamin Patch Club members. And we run ads on Instagram and Facebook for awareness for these campaigns. We run campaign awareness ads. So we're looking for mainly charities that are not widely known. Like we were talking about, and I might pronounce it wrong, the Dark One Project for the murals for Rob. Right? We want to support them. They don't know this yet, and I don't know if this will air yet, and we're going to run, with their permission, in May, a month campaign to try to raise money and funds for their mural in Toronto. That's one of our radar things that I've got on the go. And then Model Citizen Fund with Dan Fleischman's group, we want to do something with them. So these kind of social movements that are for causes. So when we say charity, it's not just, and I don't dislike any charity, so it doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit registered charity. If it's something that is for occurring change in the world, for the benefit of the world, and we want to be a part of it. And I think it's our obligation now. The last year living here on the boat, and I guess 2 years really, even though it's been 1 year on the boat, I've really changed a lot of my thought process. A lot of it's contributed to something that happened on the way to a conference that I was going. I won't get into all the details, but I had a moment where I said, if not me, who, and if not now, when? And that became my motto for eternity now, because something happened that I watched a bunch of people do nothing. And it was the right thing to do something. And I did something, and a bunch of people said to me, geez, what you did was great. And I'm like, you were right there, bro. I should not get a reward, a pat on the back for doing the right thing when it's obviously the right thing to help somebody. That shouldn't be hero status anymore. You're right. That should be human kindness, human nature. And it got me to a point that I was like, why is it that we've all taken a back seat to each other? When did this happen? And I blame a lot of it, and I'm going to get probably into this, I blame a lot of it on watching the politics of the past 4 years. I'm not shitting on the actual president. I'm not going to get into a political debate of whether he's good or bad or ugly. I'm saying the demeanor in the electoral process, the hate and the visceral divide that I watched go on. I'm a white privileged suburban kid from Toronto. I can't give that back, right? My parents did well. This is who I am, and I know I've had benefits in my life. I do not know what it's like to be a minority. I don't. I can empathize, but I can be considerate of other human beings that aren't exactly like me or different. And for some reason, there's this fucking hate that's just like brewed. And with VPC, we want to be a voice to nonprofits, to vision of world, to equal rights, to campaigning for what essentially is who we are as human beings. And it's just gotten something like fired up, and I even get animated when I start talking about it now, because I don't get it. I don't get why people aren't actually collaborating to get along, like to get together and work for the betterment of the earth and of humankind. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with the fact that people hear about what's going on in Haiti or hear about what's happening in our oceans, and they think, oh, it's such a big problem. What can I do about it? I'll leave it for the people who have more money or more time or more influence. And what people don't realize is, yes, those people that have the money and the resources, could they make a significant change? Yes. Do they have the same intention or passion to? Some do, many don't. When people say, well, what can we do? I mean, what's one person going to do? One person can inspire one more person, 10 more people, 100 more people. And when you are the living proof of what one person can do, you enroll and inspire your friends and those to take action as well. And that's how a movement starts, it starts with one person taking a stand and saying, no, I'm crazy enough to think that I can make a difference, and are you crazy enough to join me?
Well, yeah, and the one great thing we do have today, which a lot of people dismiss, is social media. And the one
Absolutely.
aspect, you can, it's one thing, like I've been involved in charities from even before when I used, but I didn't have Instagram or Snap or any of that stuff. And it was like, oh, I worked on this gala with my mom. You know, but on Instagram, like I see you, I know when you're going to go help build a house. You know, I know that you've done it. You can't lie. Well, you could Photoshop and be a total jerk, but I know that it's activated, and that makes me, it almost, I don't know, Irish Catholic guilt. You know, that I'm like, oh man, I should be doing more. You know, so seeing and following your tribe of people that you emulate or look up to, or mentors or people that you respect, makes a huge difference. Like we've got a guy in the marina. He organizes 50 people. We go around with pool skimmers and clean the garbage out of the marina once every couple months. You know, like just, so can one person make a difference? Yeah, he sends a post on Facebook.
And that's the other thing, like people think contribution is something that you do when you're, you know, rich and you have time, or you're older, and contribution can be as small and simple as cleaning out the garbage from your nearby lake or ocean, or it could be donating food at the home, you know, or serving at the food bank.
Every city has a shelter, and every shelter has a food delivery system, and every shelter needs not necessarily just food, needs packers.
Totally.
Right? And I'm telling you, I'm gone through this in the past couple of years. If I can find 3 hours every few months to go to the food bank or the LA Mission to serve mashed potatoes, in my launch of 3 different companies simultaneously in my world without a big team of people, there's 3 hours. If people know what happened during the Super Bowl and can argue a flag, they have 3 hours to share, because that's, you know. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to get in a pulpit or say, oh God, everybody's got, but you know, we got to start saving each other again.
We're living on a planet that doesn't work right now. You know, there's a lot of crazy things happening, and we have more money, more resources, more information, more technology than ever before to end a lot of these problems, yet people are still killing each other over natural resources. There are still animals going extinct because of poaching. There's, you know, crazy amounts of plastic in the ocean. I mean, there's so much going on that just doesn't need to happen.
No.
And you're right, it's going to take a few of the crazy ones like us to say that, no, this isn't okay, and we need to do something.
And it's not.
And you mentioned, so contribution can start out really small. It could be something really simple.
Yeah.
You could be having a bad day. You make the smallest act of kindness, helping a stranger, donating your time, whatever that act is, the feeling of fulfillment and gratification you get from that can totally change your mood. Absolutely. And elevate your happiness. And you realize even the smallest bit of contribution, yes, you're giving back, but you're getting back significantly.
Well, and where
more.
I touch on that, where I agree with you on that, is there's self-love that is required in this world. And I know it intimately because I didn't have it for many years. I didn't like who I was. We've talked about my esteem was in the shitter, my value was in the shitter, and I didn't have any self-love. And it might be selfish to want to do good, to feel better. But like, I have an exercise that I give to most of my clients when I first meet with them. And it's, when was the last time you had a conversation with yourself and told yourself you're great?
Yeah.
You know, when was the last time? I don't know many people that do that. And I said, I want you to talk to yourself there, because we lie in our heads, right? And this, I'll bring this to the charity aspect of it and give back. We lie in our heads that we can't do it, we're not good enough. That saboteur, he lives right here all the time, and it's constantly beating us down. But when you look yourself in the eye, when I look you in the eye, it'd be very difficult, unless I have a real psychological problem, to look you in the eye and bald-faced lie to you. That's a challenging thing to do to somebody else. It's very difficult to do to yourself. If you can look in the mirror at yourself and say, you know what, you're awesome, you're a good person, I'm proud of you. Or, you know, let's talk about something silly, you know, oh my God, you're so fat. You're going to look at yourself and go, okay, we're not really that fat. I mean, you know, like, you will have an honest dialogue. And it's really weird, because we're not supposed to talk to ourselves. But that same reflection of you giving yourself some self-worth and some self-love is important. And you gain that also, that same feeling, which is, I think, almost like a combustion chamber, by doing good. I mean, yesterday, so it rained here in LA yesterday, which is very uncommon, and I always joke because the city shuts down. Right, I was on my way to dinner, and as I'm driving along Ocean, a moped I see go sideways, spin around, and a girl go under a car basically.
Oh, wow.
A car was doing a U-turn, backed up. So there's nothing heroic here. There's a, oh wow, somebody's hurt. Put the hazards on, make sure she's okay. 13 people behind my truck that I put the hazards on were laying on their horns as this girl's on the road in the rain. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
So I got up, and she was fine, and the person didn't hit her, and they didn't hit in the exchange of information. Her moped wouldn't start. And this is nothing more than just, I think, human nature. I'm like, do you have anyone to call? She's like, my boyfriend's on his way. I'm like, great. I said, moped, I have a pickup. Do you want to put it in the back, and I'll drive you home? Right? Call your boyfriend. You can follow, or you can hop in with him. So you know, some crazy guy picking you up on the side of Venice, you know, on Ocean Boulevard. But bottom line is, you know, I got to dinner later that night. I got dinner around 9 o'clock instead of my 7:15 plan or whatever, because I kind of have a schedule I keep. And I got to dinner, and I was sitting at dinner. I felt damn good, proud of, like I felt good of myself that I stopped, that I checked on somebody, I touched another human being. Are you okay? How are things? Yeah. Can I help you out? And big deal. We ended up not even having to load the moped in because it ended up starting by the time her boyfriend got there. But to wait with her until he got there, I felt good about myself.
Sure.
And that's not selfish to feel good for doing good.
Absolutely not. It makes you feel
it's a little. It's a this. It's a this. It took me an hour out of my night. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know? And so, I mean, there's opportunity for this moment of gratitude and gratefulness and give back everywhere.
Yeah. So for those who think they don't have time, or they think that, you know, it's contributions for some people who, you know, can afford more than they can. Anybody can afford to contribute. You just have to have the want to do it and be intentional about it. So one thing I wanted you to share a bit about, because you've mentioned it a few times, and just for anybody who might be watching this who doesn't know what VPC is, Vitamin Patch Club, you know, to give a bit of background on how you started.
I have some patches for you.
Okay, sweet.
So let me just grab them.
Okay.
So I got some for you too, Zach. Let's see. We'll start. Well, you're coming.
You're wearing one right now. Yeah.
I am wearing one right now. So that's the actual patch. Concept of it is pretty straightforward. I was closing my store. I went to go quit smoking, which I haven't done yet, for honesty. I'm working on it. I keep putting off the reason, but I will. I promise. How we got there? I was going to quit smoking, and I went to the pharmacy, and I've been a nutritionist for 5 years, and I said to the lady at the pharmacy, I'm like, look, I need to quit smoking, blah blah blah, and she said, look, it's after hours. You need a prescription for all these medications to quit, Chantix and all that other stuff. She goes, but just get the Nicoderm. She goes, they work. They're the best thing. They go through your skin, you absorb your nicotine, and she held it up, and literally, I'll just open this up here. This is yours. So this is for you, sir. Here's your. Those are vitamin D3.
Okay.
Coming from Toronto, because you need some extra, and I got some biotin for B12 for you. These were never made, of course.
Yeah.
But I saw her hold up the Nicoderm patch in the aisle, and I was in the supplement aisle, and I was like, wait a minute, why are we not delivering nutrients through patches? Why are vitamins? Because I know that when you take oral pills, we eliminate 80% of most of the active ingredients. Are just by our first pass metabolism, our portal vein, our liver, those combined together eliminate 70 to 90% of most active ingredients that are held in oral supplementation. So being a person that is working with clients in nutrition, I'm always telling them to eat better, take less supplements, but they're so deficient they need to boost their supplements, and it's this cat and mouse game. Which do I do first? I can't afford organics. I'm paying $400 a month supplements, but so I said, what if I could get you supplements at $29.85 for a month's supply for what you're severely deficient in, that gave you 90% absorption. And that's just how it clicked. So I went to January 5th last year, I started working on this, and we're live. We actually are going, by the time this airs, we'll be on Amazon, which is pretty exciting for me. We were a subscription model, $29.95 a month. Transdermal, the reason it is more efficient is it bypasses your GI tract or your first pass metabolism. We have hair follicles that allow for the absorption of nutrients through our pores. It enters through our circulatory system, migrates to our heart, and then our heart pumps it through all of our organs and muscle and tissue in the body, and nerves and brain and everything. So it's just a more efficient way for me to be able to deliver what clients require on a nutritional daily basis. And we We don't put any active ingredient, or we don't put any additives or fillers. It's all organic, vegan, non-GMO, additive and filler free. So it's a 100% clean product.
Okay.
And yeah, we're stoked about it. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm really excited about our product launch. We've got 4 more products coming out in 3 months. We have a children's line coming out in 6 months. And then we've got some really cool stuff we're working on, kinesiology tape embedded with amino acids and electrolytes,
cool.
Which I think will be pretty good for the fitness community, and we're in beta testing for that. Working on a CPD patch, which is pretty epic. That's as far out as I got. That's about 1.5 years worth of development that we're working on right now. But this all is built on the catalyst of what you said, philanthropreneurship earlier, that this company, we give a lion's share of our profits to these causes. Nobody, when I say we have the 3 charities and they vote on them, nobody really loses. We don't say one person gets 100%.
Right.
And, right, we just split it 75, and then 75 goes to the lion's share of the voted charity. So vitaminpatchclub.com, man. Giving back in a big way and delivering nutrients.
It's amazing that this product, from all that you've shared with me, like this product really represents your journey over the last 15 to 20 years. From all that you've been through, the wild nights, the rough times, the ups and downs, the opening and closing of the business, and taking all that knowledge and information from what you've been through, what you've learned, and embodying all that in a patch that you wear. It's pretty awesome to see that this is the product of your journey.
It's really, when you put it that way, it makes it pretty emotional, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a ride, man.
Yeah. Can I put one on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just rip off the top.
So now when I put this on, am I going to feel anything?
It's a time release formula, so it's actually better for you. You notice we put Velcro in there, not a Ziploc. That's my favorite feature. I love the bag. Yeah. I swear to God, the bag's my favorite.
Because I haven't done a IV drip, but I've heard when you take the IV drip, you feel a bit of a... You
do right away. We do such high, and we do vitamin IV infusions at Whole Life Balance also. In Toronto.
I'm going to get in there and see Chris and Sandra and try one. All right, here we go. Let's give it a try.
So you place, peel, and apply.
All right, here. There we go. Okay, so just
yeah,
right
just
there.
anywhere. I say anywhere that you don't have a ton of hair and a ton of mobility. Okay. So that's a vitamin D3 and vitamin C. 20 micrograms of vitamin D, which is a daily daily suggested amount, and then there's 6 milligrams of vitamin C in there also, which helps the carrier agent, helps you absorb.
Yeah.
So it
cool.
And you can wear them. We wear them on the back of the shoulder, on the top of the foot. We've got 3 products: a B12, B6, and B9.
Okay.
Which I'll give you a bag of those too. Also, a biotin patch, which is our B7, which is great for hair, skin, and nails. The B6, B12, B9 is good for energy, boosts metabolism, increases the digestion of carbs and fats, and it's good for DNA reproduction. It's also good for the manufacturing of intrinsic factor, which we need to be able to absorb all of these nutrients. Vitamin D is good for immune system, it's good for cognitive thought, it's good for muscle and tissue repair, and it's also good for bone, teeth.
Okay.
So vitamin D is actually, 71% of the population is vitamin D deficient, which is bizarre because we live under the sun.
Yeah.
But what people don't know is sun takes time to metastasize through your body, or metabolize rather. So if you go out for a morning jog and you have no lotion on, right, and you get sun on you, that's great. But it takes 3 to 5 hours for it to metabolize through the skin. So if you have a shower, you've actually washed it off.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's a really bizarre. And then of course makeup and sunscreen prevent that, and we live in a highly volatile, cancerous age with skin cancer. So most people are pretty lathered up. So the vitamin D is really important to us. The new products that we're coming out with is a melatonin and magnesium patch to help sleep aid, a sleep aid patch. We're coming out with a magnesium and potassium for recovery. We're coming out with a motion sickness patch and an iron patch. Wow. That's our next ones, next 4.
Very cool. And right now, where can you buy Vitamin Patch?
Vitaminpatchclub.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do warn people a little bit. There's a person that's come out that started thevitaminpatch.com or vitaminpatch.com. It redirects to a site that has, let's just say, no science in there.
Okay.
They're I don't like to slander anybody, but I know their product has not got the nutrients that are in it, because I know the manufacturer.
Okay.
So it's Vitamin Patch Club.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, I had a couple people call and they're like, Shane, this doesn't look like your packaging. I'm like, oh, you went to the wrong site.
Okay.
So, They're just friends of mine. We're launched, we're live, we're stoked. We've got some funny videos that we did. Okay. So it's pretty cool, man.
Check them out. So, you know, you've shared a lot about your last 15, 20-year journey, and you know, here we are in beautiful Marina del Rey, chilling on your boat. What do you, or how do you see the next few years? What's your vision? Where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, taking all this into consideration, this amazing journey, like, what's happening? What's your trajectory?
Well, obviously I want VPC to excel. I want to grow to a significant size. I want to have global impact. That's important. That's very important to me on the charitable side, on the giving back. I'd like to become a thought leader in that space. My ideal thing is that VPC grows to a certain size, that my COO and the company runs, and the charitable side becomes a foundation nonprofit that I actually get to run. Okay. My dream is actually just to be able to violently help people, not violently, flamboyantly or whatever the word, I can't think of the word, but to actually be able to, that's my full-time job, is to be going around helping. Okay. I mean, that would be, if somebody said if you didn't have to use money to live, and what could you do, it'd be to be of assistance to other people. Right. I've learned that in the past, you know, 5 years of my life since I've been sober. That's where I'm most served and I'm most useful, is life experience and what not to do. So that's key one with the business. So kids, family, I mean, that's something that I've always dreamed of having. Living wise, I've always had a vision of having 2 residences, one beachside, one mountainside. Doesn't necessarily, right now I've got Escondido and Encinitas in my head, which is outside San Diego, so that's kind of like a pilot dream of mine, keeping my boat in San Diego Bay. So I'd have 3 residences really. That's kind of a dream of mine, to have almost a ranch style house, and more can do it better for, I think, raising kids than, who knows, maybe a boat would be epic for doing it. That might be a whole other thing. Big thing though is the giving back, man. I think everything else will work itself out. You know, I'll meet the right person, I'll end up in the right spot. Lead with your heart, lead with your truth. And this project with Vitamin Patch Club, I've had gut instincts on every job that every club, every business, my automotive business, everything. There's always been something that said, I don't know. I have not yet, in a year of 18-hour days, 6 days, 7 days a week, had a I don't know moment with this yet. I believe in it so strongly. I believe in what it can do so strongly that I think if I just follow my path of getting this into as many hands as people and being able to support as many people as we can through the mission of Vitamin Patch Club, that everything else will work out. You know, whether I'm here or in Panama, you know, working, I don't think that matters as long as you're doing what you were put here to do. It took me 42 years to find purpose. You know, I'm envious of a couple of these young kids. We were talking about masterminds and stuff like that. I went to Baby Bathwater, and some of the kids in there are 24, 25, and they know exactly what they want. Yeah. All right, they've been living in this tech viral world.
Yeah, but that's also because they don't have the extra 22 years of living and experiences that you've had to cloud their intuition of who they are and what they really want. Because I believe that, you know, we are born knowing the difference between right and wrong, and over the years, through our experiences, through our upbringing, through our education, through our parents, and all the other extenuating circumstances, they cloud and suppress who we truly are. And I think the reason why you feel so strongly about Vitamin Patch Club and are so passionate about it, and you're going to make it a global success, is because it's very aligned with who you are, what you want for your life, and what you want for the planet. You want to contribute, and this product is your contribution to people living a healthier, more balanced life. And that's why I think, you know, it's going to work, because it's aligned with who you are and what you want. So yeah. I definitely look forward to seeing your, it's great to hear about your journey and see where it's brought you, and to know that this is the result of all the good and bad that you've been through. And I look forward to watching it grow and be happy to support your success. So, you know, if there's anything we can do to help spread the world and get it out there, you know, spread the word and get it out there, you know, maybe you know, in Toronto, whatever we can do, maybe put out the spa or, you know, share it through our network. I mean, definitely, you know, through this video, we're going to let a lot of people know about it. But, you know, man, I'm proud of you. And I'm happy to see that, you know, you've found what your true calling is. So
yeah, it's been a road.
Yeah.
It's been a road, but I mean, you know, it's funny how we all, you know, you said earlier, and I'll just touch on it because I know we're kind of on time. You said earlier that, you know, in life, we hadn't spoken or hung out really in about 12 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I said, it's funny how I come to California and we reconnect out here. Like, yeah, things are meant to be and things have to be aligned. Well, I believe, and this is truth, I've admired you for a very long time. I think you run your businesses exemplary. Your reputation is amazing in Toronto. I don't know anybody that dislikes Zark. Like, I don't know anyone. I don't. You know, and I know your professionalism in your businesses, and I've always held you in high regard. Right, and we've all gone through changes in our life, but I think that we're connected now because I've grown up, even though I'm older than you, to what your standards of expectation of people were.
Okay.
Now, like, I think you had the same standards. I believe from what I've known about you that this is not new to you. You've had a high respect for other people. You've had a self-respect that was in check. You've been an entrepreneur, self-made, but you had this expectation of you to surround yourself with like-minded people. And I will tell you with 100% truth that 15 years ago, I would not be like-minded.
Right.
You would have been like, oh, here comes Shane coming in at the time Century, right? You know, coming into Century and, oh shit, he's gonna, hey buddy, what's going on? And then I'm, you know, I'm going to your bathroom and I'm sneaking a bump because whether you want to know or not know, you could tell that I'm high and it's like, hey, he's an all right guy. It's Shane, he's not doing anything wrong, but like it wasn't aligned with your energy. And I think that everything does happen for a reason because the first time you came out here, I'm like, hey man, let's get together. And I'm a different person 15 years ago.
Sure.
There's a similarity. There's like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's this, you know, the frequencies vibe.
For sure.
You know?
And in all fairness, if the Zark today met the Zark from 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't have.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you've evolved in your own space, but I'll tell you that your reputation has always preceded you as a stand-up quality, you know, respectful, honest person, and I don't know that I had that same.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that.
So.
And, you know, it's all subjective, but you know, the important part is we're here today.
Absolutely.
Chilling on your boat,
yes.
hanging out.
Yes.
Great catching up. Thank you
too,
for
man.
all that you've shared. Thank you for this.
Man.
Looking forward to trying this out, and yeah, man, definitely we're gonna be back, and we've got to do a little boat trip together. I like that idea about Cabo.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the continuation of the interview. Part 2
that would be
on the boat down to Cabo.
I say for that we actually set up like we do our own reality show. Bring a couple friends and just live stream the whole trip.